We ready to go? Is it
Yeah,
straight?
sure.
All right, we'll go with it, and we'll just run with this.
Yeah, why
If
not?
it's crooked, then that's gonna be a part of the hook. All right, what's up, everyone? My name is Alex, and this is the producer and co-host.
Trevor.
All right, cool. And this is the first episode of What the Fact.
You think it's all about the bag over here? Really, we just spit the facts over here. Really, you just wouldn't last over here.
All right, we're excited. I'm excited about this
I'm
first
excited
episode.
too,
It's
yeah.
kind of nervous a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
You can tell we're acting weird and stuff like that. But we also have a really important topic today. It's one that you can tell is causing a lot of distress in America in
Yeah.
general. We have very different sides to this, and a lot of people are getting the facts confused. They don't actually know what's going on down
They
there,
don't know
or they
what's-
think they do.
They don't know what's right and wrong.
Exactly. They don't know what the truth is. And so today we're going to make sure you guys understand the truth of that specific. And that topic is actually going to be what's going on at the southern border with families being separated. Yeah, because that's a lot of people feel like, oh, they're being separated and that's evil. But they don't know the terms and why those families are being separated and exactly what's happening. So we're going to get those facts straight. We're also going to take a look at some of the recent news because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on recently. We're going to focus on a couple of them and make sure you guys get the facts on the recent news that's been going on here in America and also in the state of California, because you guys live here, you might as well know what's going on.
It's true.
California's messed up. Let's see what's going on here. So, you guys ready to do the recent news?
Yeah.
Let's get started on that. So, first up on recent news, the California Senate Bill 360 was recently thrown out. This bill was going to take away the penitential exception from the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act. This meant that clergy members from certain churches, actually all across the board, would have to report things that were said in, say, like for example, confession or any type of penitential act between a clergy member and a person. So that had ramifications not only in the Catholic Church. A lot of people thought it was just going to be Catholic, but any religion that had a type of penitential act was going to be affected by this. And so there were some people saying that it was needed in order to make sure that some stuff wasn't just going unchecked and it was being used as an abuse by people. And there was other people that were saying this was a separation of church and state and it was crossing that line. So people like State Senator Jerry Hill were in favor of it because they claimed that penitential session was being abused by people, especially Catholic priests, while others like civil lawyer Father Pius Petrick claimed the priest's penitent privilege should be kept as and held as high as the attorney-client privilege. And I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah, it is.
You got people who commit crimes, they trust their attorney to keep the secrets they tell them. I don't see why that shouldn't be the same with people in a church and their priest or pastor.
Yeah, there should be some mutual respect between them that, you know, they understand each other in a way.
Exactly. And I also see the other side of this where people want to make sure people aren't just confessing this crime and not
Yeah, it's all
and
good.
getting away with it. Yeah. So there was two very different sides to this, and I mean the bill's been tossed out, but it might pop back up. There's bills that have happened before, especially in California. A lot of times you see that. Next in news, we had a federal lawsuit that was filed by pro-abortion advocates against Georgia's heartbeat bill. This lawsuit now has a hearing date, and that is September 23rd. This will hopefully put a pause on it and not allow it to go in effect on January 1st. Now, this bill was supposed to mean that abortion would not be allowed the minute a doctor could detect cardiac activity, so a heartbeat, in other words. And that's usually happening at the 6th week. Mothers don't even know they're pregnant at that point.
Yeah.
So that would eliminate a lot of abortions and take away what some call a right.
To abortion.
Exactly. But some people argue if it has a heartbeat, it's a human.
Which,
I mean, if a heart's beating, we usually consider a person alive, so that's a good chance right there. And we have a truck pulling in. It's a loud truck. And, yeah. Attorneys that are trying to protect this law are going on record saying that it's to protect life and its sanctity, to protect women's health, as well as safeguarding those in the medical profession and their ethics. So that's what the attorneys for the bill are going on record saying this. And this was a very controversial bill when it was passed by the governor. There was a lot of backlash,
Feedback.
especially on social media.
Oh yeah.
A lot of it. It was intense. I remember looking on Instagram, and there was literally not one, like, I could not pass 2 posts without it having something to do with this bill. I don't
It's
know.
a big thing.
I bet there's a lot of talk about it in schools too.
Oh yeah.
I can only
Yeah.
imagine. And so, whether or not this is put on pause, the hearing is on September 23rd, and its effective date is supposed to be January 1st. So we're gonna see where this happens. We're gonna see where this takes it. You know.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's get started on the main topic. The separation at the border, separation of families. In April 2018, so this is last year, Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced a zero tolerance policy. This was in regards to people illegally crossing our southern border from Mexico to America. This meant that instead of the people going through the immigration court, these illegal immigrants would be put through criminal justice system. So that was the main difference. That was a big change. This change resulted in people, instead of being held in immigration facilities or being simply released, they were put into criminal detention centers. So jails. They were put into jails. Now, because families would come over, the children couldn't be put into jails. There's a law, they can't be detained with adults. And I mean, that makes sense.
It does.
You don't want kids in the same prison as adult men or adult women. There's instances of very bad stuff happening.
Right.
I don't want to go into it, but use your imagination, guys. So this leaves the children in separate detention centers. A lot of people thought these looked like cages, and they were being kept in cages like animals. They think it was wrong for them to be pulled apart from families. Now, these facilities are actually transformed buildings that have been adjusted to better suit the need of these people. There is also a case where there's a huge tent community that was built near El Paso, Texas, and I'm talking huge tents. They looked like carnival tents. They were huge, and actually people haven't been let inside there, but you can see pictures of it on the internet, and they're pretty big. And then there's a giant chain link fence around the premises just to make sure. So there's that. And after 20 days, these kids can't be detained. They have to be released to some effect. So the children are then placed with the Department of Health and Human Services, where they can either be released to a family member, a guardian, a parent, or a sponsor. Now, a lot of times their parents haven't had their hearing yet. So that takes away the whole going to a parent. Now, sometimes they might have family members here in America, other times they don't. So they're put with a sponsor and foster system. Now, this instance of children being taken away from adults and put in the system has already happened before. It was just in cases of human trafficking. So instances where that was believed, or they couldn't establish the relationship between the parents and the child. So if there was no way to tell if this was actually that person's kid, they were taken away. And I mean, that's not bad.
No.
If you really have no record, I don't see why that shouldn't happen. So since this separation started happening, a lot of people are accusing that these families are being forcibly torn apart and that they're being held in cages. So we're going to look and see at some of these pictures and a lot of these interesting statistics to see if that really is happening, or to the degree people believe it is. So let's go ahead and look at what the current law says. The current law states that anytime a parent commits a crime, they are to be detained in a criminal jail where they remain until their court date or post bail. This is why in some cases we see parents and children being removed from the family. We will talk about the exception to this later on. Now, this separation isn't a law that Trump enacted. It's the way our criminal justice system has worked for a long time. You can look at any crime that's been committed by an adult, and if they have a children, it doesn't matter. You're in jail. Person steals, what other crimes? Rape, stuff like that. They're pulled away from the family. You're in prison.
So
Your
it's a
kids don't get.
universal
Yeah, their kids don't get to come with them.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're just saying that's only to illegal immigrants. This is across the board. This is every criminal must be detained. So that's a lot. And the only reason now we're seeing it happen to illegal immigrants is because Attorney General Jeff Sessions said we're going to transfer it over. The immigration courts were taking too long. It wasn't getting done. So now we're moving over to the criminal justice system so it can happen faster. But because there's so many coming over, that process is still taking a long time. There's just a lot of people coming over the border at this time. Now, the images of the facilities the children are being held in while their parents are in jails, they don't really look like cages. If you look at these fences, they look similar actually to the ones that are around Madera High. Just slightly taller fences. So I would say more dog kennel-ish. Dog kennel,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's a good
talking
way.
big dog kennels.
Very big.
You're talking 10-foot fences, and that's where these children are being kept. 10-foot fences, same thing you see around the high schools, at least here in Madera. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying it's not about the students here in Madera. I mean, that's a possibility. That's getting edited. Okay. So, while the parents are going through this due process, which is a right we Americans give to everyone, these are where their children are being held. Now, because of the Flores Settlement Agreement of 1997, these children can't be detained for more than 20 days.
That's a lot.
So it's an agreement. So it's not a law, it's just a way to execute the law.
Oh, okay.
So it states that you can't hold these kids for more than 20 days.
That makes sense.
So what happens then if the parents... What are you doing?
They're
So
killing
what hap-
mosquitoes. They're everywhere.
So what happens? Don't want to get bitten by mosquitoes, guys. There's what's not
Yeah.
going on. So what happens when these parents aren't done with their hearing and 20 days have passed? Where are these kids going? What's going to happen to them? Wait, hold on. Wow, you really should highlight some of these things.
Yeah.
Oh, so after these 20 days pass, that's when the children are released to the government. They're put into government's custody, and that's where they determine, hey, are we gonna have to deport these kids back to family in Mexico, or we're gonna try to find sponsors and foster families for them here. Now, if a foster family or a sponsor is found for the child, they will be returned to the parents after their hearing. So it's not like
So
they're
it's
held there
not-
forever. It's not
yeah.
permanent. They're not permanently in the United States system. They're returned to them after the parents have their hearing. But how long that hearing takes, that varies.
Yeah.
You know, it's indefinite. So now the reason the parents don't get released before their hearing is because back during the Obama administration, he had this thing called the catch and release policy. So he would catch the illegal immigrants coming over the border. He would give them a hearing date and then release the entire family. There's really no way to track them at that
Yeah.
point. So we were seeing about 140,000 cases of the people not actually showing up to the hearing.
That's a lot of cases.
140,000 people not showing up to the hearing. Okay, that automatically results in them being in a deportation order being filed for these people. But if you don't know where they are because you're not tracking them or keeping trace of them, how are you gonna deport them? How is justice gonna be served for not showing up to your hearing date? And just to be clear, crossing over the border is a crime. It's illegal. Hint the fact, illegal immigration. It's not like these people got their paperwork done in Mexico and filled out all the stuff to come over here legally on a temporary residency or a visa or stuff like that. These just crossed over. They just came over illegally. So they did commit a crime. Where during the hearing, if they show up to the hearing, they can have an asylum plea. And a majority of the time, I'm talking 98% of the time, you get the asylum. So for the people who didn't show up, that's a loss. Overall, that was about a third of the catch and release people not showing up. A third. So you have a third of the total majority of people not showing up to the court hearing. Now, this all resulted in the new policy, put them in the criminal justice system, put them in prison or jails, not prisons, jails. Put them in jails so we can hold them until their hearing date. That way they at least have a hearing date and have a better chance of getting asylum. But these hearing dates, because they're so flooded right now, the jails are so flooded with illegal immigrants, these jail dates, another one bites the dust, these jail dates are taking a lot longer than 20 days. So, now recently in news, President Trump put forward a policy to remove the Flores Agreement, the Flores Settlement. Are we going? We're back on.
Wait, talk?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Wait,
My
what
name
did
is
that do?
Alex. And
I
we're
didn't know
back
if,
for
if
take
it was a
number
still
2.
frame or
Oh.
not, because
So it's got the red dot with the
Yeah, yeah.
numbers.
Okay, we're back. Technical difficulties.
Yep. First show, man.
I know, right? Nothing can go perfect first
No.
show. It just can't. It's just not the way it goes. I mean, we got mosquitoes eating our little man in the chair. We got a
Little
camera
man.
stopping in the middle of the session.
It's all bad.
It's all bad. I'm still trying to figure out why my touch screen isn't working, but you know, we're going through it. I know.
Technical
Press
difficulty.
F for respect. But recently Trump put forward a motion, a policy, and he enacted it to get rid of the Florida Settlement Agreement, meaning that we would be able to hold people indefinitely.
Oh.
So instead of putting the kids in the system after 20 days, we'll be able to hold them. Not only would this policy allow us to keep the kids in a place so that we know where they are, we know they're not in a foster care system or a sponsor system, or even worse, getting deported back to Mexico without their parents. This policy would also allow for more places of family detention, meaning the parents can be held with the kids in a family detention facility.
So they're all still together.
They're all together, being held together. And I thought this was a great idea. And the family, the man in the chair is literally going ninja on
You
it.
need to
He's
stop,
taking
bro.
on some mosquitoes and he's
Bro.
flying. All right. But anyways, they would be able to be held in these family detention facilities until another one bites the nuts, until the parents' hearing.
Thank you.
It sounds like a good idea.
It does.
It sounds like it's a compromise. They're still being held, but the families are being held together. Right after he puts his motion in agreement, 20 states.
James, you're
You
gonna
could just.
stop.
I'm gonna reenact James right now. Just like,
Bro, you cannot
they're
stop.
everywhere. I've killed
The-
like 6 already.
how many years of martial arts did you take? Because you're just like
Yeah.
using every single one of them to chop these suckers out of existence.
Knocking him out.
It's worth
West
it.
Nile rate has gone down thanks to James Massetti. But anyways, this policy, the minute it was enacted, 20 states filed a lawsuit against it.
Like right.
20, right, like they didn't
Bam.
hesitate. Bam, 20 states.
That's great.
Filed a lawsuit. And that means that if it's not settled right away, then this will take 18 to 24 months to settle.
I'm sorry, it's very difficult.
Why is there constant?
There's so much going wrong. But there is actually, so it would take 18 to 24 months, a year and a half, 2 years for this to finally go through.
James, but you cannot say that, bro.
He cannot just, let's try that again.
No.
There's 20 states that follow a lawsuit the minute he enacted this. 20 states, California being one of them,
Of course.
and also District of Columbia.
Well,
Yeah, so with that, it's going to take 18 to 24 months to actually be enacted. If it goes through all the court systems.
is that because of all the protests?
That's because of all the lawsuits. So this idea of trying to hold families together in detention facilities that are meant for families is thrown out the window.
Good old California.
Good old California and all the other
I know,
19
right?
other states. And this was supposed to go into effect 60 days, 2 months. After he put
That's
it
it.
in, it was 2 months, and then we would have had this in place. Instead, we're going to wait 18 to 24 months. Yeah. So, and these families wouldn't be held in weird places like the dog kennel, Madeira High fence places. They would be held in residential facilities.
Oh.
Of course, these would be monitored,
Mm-hmm.
but they're residential facilities.
So
It's a lot nicer
Than
than
being in
a
cages.
jail or a jail.
Or a
I
jail,
mean,
yeah. You can do that.
behind bars, residential facility. I see residential facility as being better. And another thing about the cages people were accusing people of being in, that they were accusing these kids of being in. This is a picture a lot of people base that opinion off of. If I could get my mouse to work. And this is the picture. You see here in this picture, we're gonna describe what you're seeing.
Well,
you
it'll
see
be
a
right
kid,
here.
yeah. So boom, right here.
Bam.
This is what you're seeing. This was posted by Ron Perlman, and he immediately called out Trump, Sessions, McConnell, Ryan, and said, "This is you." So in other words, accusing him of putting this kid in a cage. Little did he know, this picture was actually taken at a rally fighting against the separation of families, where they had a cage, an actual cage, and they put their kids in there.
On display.
And this little man right here, this little dude, I actually feel really bad for him.
I know.
He wandered into the cage, and it closed with him in there, and so that's why he's crying, because he can't get out.
Huh.
So this wasn't something ICE did or the Department of Human Services. This is something parents did to their kids to try to prove a point. And if there's any point it proved, it's keeping an eye on your kids, because they might wander into cages.
You don't want your kids in cages.
You don't want your kids wandering into a cage
Wandering.
while you're trying to prove a point about not putting kids in cages.
It's kind of a controversial
I see
idea.
that as
like,
yeah, it's kind of ironic actually.
Yeah, it's
a lot, and the funny thing is, a lot of people like Ron Perlman and other actors and actresses that posted this picture after it was released, they thought this was actually what was going on at the Southern border. So, oh shoot, it's a fact. Get smart, America. Do your research, because some of these pictures are fake, or they're not actually what you think. This isn't actually what's going on with Southern Brother. This is just what's happening at a rally, and it's a poor kid that wandered into a cage. So yeah, that's what happened. Now, and a lot of people are getting mad at Trump for all this stuff that's going on, but he actually can't change immigration laws. That's the job of Congress, because Congress makes the laws. Political science, basic stuff we all have learned through our school years. He can't change the laws. He can't make new immigration laws. The only thing he can do is change the way they're executed. That's what he can do. So that's what he did with this new zero tolerance policy that was enacted by Jeff Sessions, or this new policy of being able to hold people indefinitely in family detention centers. So, he's doing his best to try and find a compromise with everything, to make sure these people are getting hearings faster, and also we're not having a third of them just never show up in absentia to these hearings. So yeah, I mean, that's what's going on at the southern border, guys. That's what's going on with the separation of families. That's the facts. Those are the facts. The real facts. Underneath the video, we will be posting the links to all the sites we found our resources. Okay, so that way you can make sure for yourself, if you don't believe us.
Which, why wouldn't you?
I mean, why wouldn't you? We're honorable people.
Yes.
We're honorable people, except when it comes to mosquitoes. We're gonna kill those suckers.
Yeah.
But we did our research. We made sure we found some places to get the facts and nothing less. So hopefully, if you guys don't believe us, check out the facts below. Check out the links, and we'll see you next week on another episode of What the Fact.